Over the next few lessons, you are going to write your own version of the selfish giant. We're going to split the story into a beginning, a middle, and an end, so you can write each section over the next 3 days. We're going to use our plan from yesterday to help you remember what is going to happen in each part of the story. So let's have a look. We need to make sure in our story we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in this lesson today, we're focusing on the beginning. So yesterday, you had your plan. You had to cut out the pictures of the story, stick them in the right order, and you made some notes and wrote down some key words about what was happening in each part of the story. So you can see here, I've got my picture of the children playing. I said that they were in the giant's garden. It was hot, it was sunny, there was soft green grass. Then next to my giant's picture, I said the giant comes home. He was unhappy and angry, and he asked the children to leave. Next was the wooden sign that said trespassers will be prosecuted. And it said that there was a wooden sign, the giant wants to scare the children, and no one came to play. The next picture was this one here. It said giant's garden stays cold. It was the winter time. There was hail, there was snow, there were silver trees. And my last picture shows that the giant changes and he became kind. The children came back to play. It was spring, the trees blossomed, and everyone was happy. You might have some notes the same, or you might have some different ones, and that's absolutely fine. But what we're going to do today is we're going to use the notes that we have written already, and we're going to turn them into sentences and start writing our story. So I was just thinking about how we could split our story up. If it was me, I think what a good way to be was if this is my first two boxes would be my beginning. I'm going to put a red line there, and I'm going to put a giant B. I'm going to put a B next to these boxes to show that that's my beginning. And I think to split the last three up, I think I'd put a red line here. These two boxes next will be my middle, and then the ending is just going to be that box at the end there, that last box. So we're not just going to think of things off the top of our head. We need to think about what happens in the story and what notes I've got, and I can use these notes to write the beginning of my story. And if I include all these things and I write them in the right order, so I talk about the children playing before the giant gets there, I know my story will make sense. I've done an example for you to have a look at. Every afternoon, the children in the village used to play in the amazing garden on their way home from school. The garden was a beautiful garden, and it was full of lots of exciting things. There were huge trees and soft green grass everywhere. Next to one of the enormous trees, there was a massive hill that the children loved to roll down. There was also a golden sandpit so that the children could happily make sand castles. The birds in the trees sang so sweetly that it sounded like music. One day, the unkind giant who owned the garden came home and he was very angry. He told everyone that they had to leave and never come back. He was very selfish. So that's the beginning of my story. It's not too long, but I've included the notes that I made in the first two boxes. I've talked about the children playing. I've told them they're in the giant's garden. I used some of the language from last week to describe what the garden was like. So there was a massive green hill, there was soft green grass everywhere. You can do that. If you didn't write that in your notes, you can still add it in. It doesn't matter if it's not on your plan. If you think of extra ideas that you think are good, put them in. It'll make your story even better. Then I went on to explain about the giant coming home, how he was angry and he asked everyone to leave. And I also added in that he was selfish. Okay. Now you don't have to go on into the middle bit and to the end bit. That's going to come later in the week. Just focus on the first bit here. It's a really good point before you start writing is to practice your story so you can orally rehearse it. So think of what sentences you want to say before you write it down. Remember, think of your sentence in your head, say it out loud. You might want to count how many words are in the sentence on your fingers and then have a go at writing those words as best as you can, making sure you've got capital letters, full stops, and finger spaces, and you've got your very best handwriting. Good luck. I'm sure you'll do a brilliant job, and we'll move on to the middle part of our story in the next lesson.